I need a favor.
What's going on, my phenom, and onto the tape phenom? Bring it seven? Seven of my playthrough. Marvel's Avengers on PlayStation 5. Hopefully you've been enjoying watching me play it so far. If you have, like, comment, subscribe. And without further ado, let's get back.
So many people here. I didn't think this many Inhumans existed.
More keep cropping up. San Francisco was a big city.
Were you all captured by AIM?
No, not everybody here is even Inhuman. Some are friends, family. Others just want to do what's right. Which are you?
All of the above.
Hey there, welcome to the Anthill. I'm Cerise, Theo's twin sister. I've got the same powers as my brother. Portal twins at your service. Want a soda? I can totally steal one from Pim's hidden walk-in fridge. Theo does most of the people moving around here. I've been directing the renovations, looking for new caves to expand. This place is pretty great. You can't walk in or out, so we feel safe. And you'll get used to the dust. Old Sisyphus the robot has been trying his best to sweep up, but it's a losing battle. We're going to try upgrading this place. Ramps are at the top of my list.
All this is useless and I can't do it from a distance.
One step at a time, Grasshopper.
Of course I get stuck with a nerd for a babysitter.
Good control. Now try.
Simulation failed.
Damn it, seriously?
Really thought it worked this time.
Pim particle research. I really want to see it in action someday.
You look like someone who wants to talk to me.
Looks like they're testing Pim particles. Hope they get it up and running soon.
interrupted because we have breaking news.
Oh.
This has just been reported. A WWE wrestler has claimed that they may never step foot into a wrestling ring again.
Hey, Avenger.
Who is that person?
A former WWE wrestler?
Yes.
Come here,
Superstar
just
Billy
take
Graham.
a step.
No. Nia Jax.
Oh.
Has
Exactly
said
what the doctor
that
ordered.
She has
Thanks a
changed
bunch.
her name.
No
She
problem.
tweeted.
Happy
She's
to help.
changed her
Want
name
to know a
back to
secret?
her real
The
name,
robots around
Lena
here are all Pim's
Benin.
pet projects.
And
We've got the first
and
Mark
she
One
said
hanging out in
something
the
to
gear
the
shack
effect
next to
because
the
I think
stairs.
somebody brought up that opponent
He's hard to miss.
crippler might be a good
Okay.
name for her.
Guess I can go
And
take
she
a
said
look.
that might be a good name if I ever do decide to wrestle again,
I
but
would be
that's
so
highly
pumped if
doubtful.
you could help me with this.
Basically is.
Which is an easy thing to say when no one wants to hire you.
Wait, I was about to say the one thing we said
Did I
was
say
the
thank you
only
yet?
person
'Cause thank you.
of all these releases that there would be absolutely no interest in whatsoever from the independents would be Nia Jax.
Although I would like to see her as the injury machine or whatever. That does have some appeal to me when they actually just put it out there like that. But
Yeah, the quote is highly unlikely she
Sorry,
ever
sorry.
wrestles
I'm
again.
staring. Sorry.
all right, well with that, on that good news, the drive-thru is closed.
Let's get out while we can.
Do you hear that? You hear all the women in the business cheering right now?
Yes,
kinda-
yes.
They're canceling doctor and chiropractor appointments as we speak. Try the veal, and of course you can try the veal this weekend on the
the
Jim
more I
Cornette
buy,
Experience,
the
wherever you
happier
find
you
your
get.
favorite podcast. Hold on. There we go.
Well, Brian, next on the program in the Parade of Champions was the other match that I referred to momentarily, Lee Moriarty, the arch nemesis of Sherlock Holmes and his faithful companion, Dr. Watson, grappled with CM Punk.
Don't freak out, but Dr. Maddie Cho wants to see
Brian,
you
you
in
want
her
to do it
office.
with me?
Oh, what?
Dr.
I
Maddie
don't want
Cho
you to do it, actually.
is me. Drop by the lab. I'll
Look
hook you up
on
with some
my
goodies.
plate. What do you see? The cult of meat with extra cheese. I want a burger. Onions, if you please. 'Cause I'm the cult of meat with extra cheese. Like it good and greasy. Fried or pan. I'm the cult of meat with extra cheese. The cult of meat with extra cheese. The cult of meat with extra cheese. Fried or broiled, the cow it there you. I'll eat it in my underwear.
Oh, come on.
And a Friday.
What you do with your spare time, and now I have a better idea. I think the best line is the cow must die.
Cow must die. Broiled or fried? All right, anyway, so what we had here.
Dang,
What
look
we had
at
here
you.
was a
I am liking the whole vibe. I'm Maddie, resident biogenius. Don't tell Pim I said that. Well, Dana.
Secret safe with me. You called me to your office?
Yes, though I am not an inhuman, I am a purveyor of goodies, gear, and gadgets. If you need anything to make you faster, stronger, or stretchier, I'm your gal.
What do you get out of it?
Being smarter than everybody else. Bring me the right materials, and I'll build you gear to make AIM weep. I've already got some prototypes. Take a look. Hey, looky here.
Music plays, he does come out and goes to the desk for color, and that was, again, he's effortless on color. He has a vocabulary, imagine that, and a great delivery. But the longer I watched the match, the string is broken. I have to be honest. As they started with mat wrestling, the counters, the reversals, the arm drags, it was even, if not advantage, Moriarty, so that MJF can knock the Punk. Well, look at him. He can't even, fucking handle Moriarty. How's he going to handle me, etc. And that was fine, especially early in the match. And then Punk got a little more aggressive and took over clearly going into the break. But when they came back from the break, Moriarty's the one that just hit a false finish. And then Punk missed a knee to the buckle, and he's getting the shit kicked out of him. And at that point, I'm saying I'm not enjoying Moriarty getting this much offense. There's a difference in telling the story so that, MJF can mock him a little bit, and then Punk comes back and cleans things up when he gets the opening. This was, Moriarty gets a crossface on him, and Punk has to get a rope break. And the Punk gives Moriarty a Frankensteiner off the top rope. Moriarty rolls through for a sunset flip. And finally, the Punk hit a roundhouse kick and dropped Moriarty. And I thought, okay, boom, there it is. And now he's taking over. And MJF, even at that point, why has this lasted this long? And that was my comment as well. And then as soon as he knocked him out with a roundhouse kick, Moriarty had taken back over and got a 2 count. And then they went for something, and Punk reversed it, picked him up, hit the GTS boom 1, 2, 3. But it was, as Aunt Lola used to say, by the skin of his teeth. This is the first one I haven't liked. I think it's because it was a babyface match, and I think it's because it went on too long. You can tell the story that Punk is either a slow starter, or he's still getting back in shape, or whatever, or you can, because there's no animosity here, he's not really turning it on and trying to hurt this guy, and MJF can make fun of that. But and I'm not even indicting Lee Moriarty as talent, but he has not been portrayed at anywhere near the level of his opponent here, and it was too close for too long. And I wonder, in trying to tell this story that MJF is telling, to whether Punk is in shape or whether he's still got it or whatever the case, that they aren't giving people evidence, whether true or not, that Punk doesn't still have it anymore. What do you think?
Maybe that's part of the story, is what I think. Because there's no other excuse for it. It's been too often. It's been every match. He's not finishing anyone off. At the same time, Danielson's kicking people's heads in the earlier segment, or sometimes the segment after this. It has to be part of a story. And if that's the case, I guess we have to see where it goes, because right now, that part of it doesn't make too much sense while he's feuding with MJF, or while he's having a series with, a little program, wasn't a series, it was one match with Darby Allin, that he can't finish anyone quickly, he's not finishing anyone quickly. I got no problem with him having these competitive matches. I like the Daniel Garcia one, a few of the other ones. But I feel like with Lee Moriarty, here's a guy who we just never saw. He showed up on TV, at least I had it on TV. Showed up with showed up with Matt Sydal a few weeks ago. We haven't seen Matt Sydal since, and then all of a sudden he's here in this match. It was good. I thought MJF was really good on commentary, and I'm intrigued by the MJF Punk stuff, but on one hand, should have been quicker, probably. On the other hand, considering what else was on this show, I can see why they would draw some of these things out.
But then don't make him wrestle a babyface where he just has to get out wrestled. Let him show vulnerability to a heel who cheats somewhat. It's a different context, and I understand it's a story, and I'm not even saying I'm hating the story. I'm saying they're doing a good enough job telling the story that people may end up buying that Punk doesn't have it anymore if they don't be careful. Because, again, when he has an excuse, the other guy cheated to get an advantage or whatever, he's got stooges at ringside or etc., rather than just being out-wrestled by an underneath guy, at least if he's going to be out-wrestled by somebody, let him be out-wrestled by Bobby Fish, whose gimmick is that he's a fucking fighter. Anyway, after that match, MJF started coming down the entrance aisle and cutting a promo on Punk and talking about him struggling to beat QT Marshall and Lee Moriarty. And what are the jokes about him going after Britt Baker? Is this something from YouTube or something on their auxiliary programming that I'm not
I don't think so, only because I don't think Punk's really doing a lot of the bullshit stuff. I could be wrong, but I thought it was just alluding to Punk making comments in various promos on TV. You make a guy beat Britt Baker, and I think it was another Britt Baker line, so it was public and it was on TV. At least that's the way I took it.
Yeah, but then there was another Britt Baker, like, she was one of the 4 pillars instead of
That's
MJF.
right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But anyway, Punk responded, I love Larry David's pajamas MJF was wearing. And then basically, well, bring your needle dick in the ring. And they very closely had 2 segments in a row where the heel's saying the same thing, or basically the same thing, in that, well, no, we're not going to do it this week, we'll do it next week in my hometown, and MJF was building up the, you know, the big homecoming, and that he'll probably
I might be drooling.
showered
Can I
with
help you with any of
accolades
this
in
stuff?
a real
Not
place
right
like
this
Long
minute.
Island.
But you
But
could
then he
help
went too
Himsy with a
far,
little
Brian.
zinger. Check out the
He
War Table.
insulted
He'll fill
Larry
you
the
in.
dog. He
War Table
threatened
it
to
is.
put Larry the
I'll
dog to
just be
sleep.
here if you change your mind.
And that was too
I
much.
think
And
it's
here
time to
comes
show
Punk
AIM
up
what
the
I can
aisle.
really do. What do you
That was the
think,
first time I ever
Jarvis?
heard of Larry
I
the
think
Dog.
you can accomplish anything you set your mind to, Miss Khan.
Larry the dog. Larry the dog's been on Twitter and things over the years. And I loved, because I know how I would feel. I don't care about most people, but mess with my dog and you're fucked. So here comes Punk up the aisle, but Wardlow comes out to get in front of MJF.
So you two are talking again, eh?
They don't argue anymore.
Something like that?
Maybe somebody
Actually,
told them, well,
come
you're
on.
doing this too
She was the one.
haphazardly, too start and stop, and also it's not the right time because there's something else going on. Maybe somebody said that, I don't know. But anyway, the referees were there to get in between. They didn't have any physicality. It was a good promo segment. I'm even more want to see the match between MJF and CM Punk, except, like I said, I wasn't a fan of the match. And
Okay,
maybe
now
if
that we've
their
got some
object
muscle on
is
our
to
side,
get
I
the
think we
fans
should hit one of
worried
AIM's
about
testing
Punk's
labs.
welfare
We know
at
they've
the
been
hands of
experimenting on
MJF.
Inhumans
Maybe
in small
this
rural
match we don't do
communities.
that, but
I'd like to get my hands on whatever
that's just a
research
little
they've been
much for me,
collecting.
Sounds good. We crashed one of their big labs in the Pacific Northwest.
Rush everything, and
Olympia Archive?
so far they aren't.
Impressive.
This was, I
We
think,
wondered who was
week 3 or
responsible
week
for
4 of
taking
their
that place
program.
down.
We'll see where it goes
Thanks.
next week.
We didn't
But
get
they're
out with a
keeping
lot of
them
information. But
physically
now maybe we
apart
can
from
find
each
out
other
more.
for a while, and I think that's smart.
that is smart. It's always something valuable that you keep it, right?
I think I see where you're going, yes.
When you've got, so you smell what I'm cooking, when you have something that brings you joy, that brings you happiness, that brings you entertainment, you want to keep it, right? Well,
That's
nobody ever looks in the mirror in the morning and goes, damn my hair, I hate my hair, I don't want my hair anymore. You never hear people saying that. You always see guys looking in the mirror and saying,
AIM has been setting up bases in small towns throughout the rural West. We suspect they've been using these as testing labs and capturing the local Inhuman populace for their experiments.
I can't believe all this has been happening right under the government's nose.
Well, they have a lot of power in Washington and financial connections to every major corporation. AIM has had 5 years to set down their roots. Taking them down is not going to be easy.
Well, we gotta start somewhere. It's up to us to do the right thing.
Spoken like another Avenger I once knew. Welcome to Venture Ridge, Wyoming. This was one of AIM's go-to holding sites for Inhumans before the prison was built. After they moved in, most of the residents were evacuated.
Got it.
Keep an eye out for AIM patrols. They won't take kindly to your presence. With any luck, we'll be able to capture intel that could shed some light on what they've been doing to your people.
I've marked the facility on your HUD.
Thank you for doing this.
Least I can do. You guys kept me going when things seemed hopeless. Just knowing the resistance was out there meant we had a chance.
The odds finally seem to be tipping in our favor.
Do you think we'll find something to prove AIM is hurting Inhumans?
AIM keeps their data well guarded. We haven't been able to get anything solid. We just have the word of the Inhumans. And I'm afraid that's not enough.
So you've been building the Resistance in secret all these years?
Not intentionally. At least not in the beginning. A lot of us were captured by AIM early on. After we realized nobody was coming for us, we broke out and started making our own plans.
Good. Someone to hit.
Heads up, we got company! Someone keeping score here? Cause I gotta be winning! Oh, you picked the wrong ship.
Oh, you alright, Cooper? You okay? He came in here running, trying to jump up on my bed, and he hit his head. He couldn't jump up because of his leg. Yep. Knocked him back about 2 foot.
Research labs usually hold them in specific containment units. They like to have them nearby while they're running their tests.
Thanks.
Don't ask why. Any idea what we're dealing with in there?
Once inside, I'll be able to scan to get an idea of what technology is available.
AIM units on radar. You've got something on us.
Worth opening if you can activate the unlock sequence.
Careful. Might be a trap. is yours now.
units on radar. I'd run if I were you. Well, I don't know.
Watch your back.
these guys ever learn? Target practice time!
Non sequitur. Sequitur.
Jim, our next question sent to cornydrive-thru@gmail.com from Kevin in Lambeg, Ireland. I was recently watching a review on the Wrestling Bios YouTube channel of the WWF pay-per-view In Your House Revenge of the Taker, which took place in April, I assume he means 1997, not 2017. Okay. During the review, it was mentioned that Vince McMahon announced there were rumors that Ken Shamrock was going to challenge Mike Tyson on Raw the following night. Obviously, this didn't happen, and it would be nearly a year before Tyson would show up on WWF television. So my question for Jim is, were you aware of any kind of angle that was supposed to take place between Ken Shamrock and Mike Tyson? Or was this just a throwaway line that Vince said to make Shamrock sound?
Oh, well, no, he wouldn't have thrown that line away. And help me if you can, but obviously they didn't just call Mike Tyson up one day in early 1998 and say, hey, you want to referee at WrestleMania? Okay, sure, and it's all done. That's back when, I know they do it that way 20 years later with AEW, but Mike Tyson was the biggest sports star on the planet at that point, or very close to, and they had been having talks for quite some time, and I remember, I can't remember the timeline, I can't remember back and forth, so I'm not going to tell the story correctly, but there had been a variety of ideas bandied around as how he might fit, because the first thing that you would think, he ended up being the referee, in case anybody's too young doesn't remember, for Austin and Michaels at WrestleMania 98. And the way that they brought him in was supposedly he was going to be on DX's side, but then at the climactic moment he revealed that he was really, you know, an Austin 316 kind of guy, blah, blah, blah. But that's what busted everything open, really got Austin over. But the first thing that you would think of to do with Mike Tyson in a wrestling company is not make him a referee. And when talks first started,
let's do this.
I don't know that they even
AIM has
knew or
initiated
even
emergency
imagined that it was going to be Austin and Michaels at WrestleMania 98. Obviously, Ken Shamrock and Mike Tyson would be a thing that you would think of just in a perfect world where you had control over everybody and everything they did. Well, how could we get the world's baddest boxer and the toughest guy we got in the ring together? That would be a thing you'd think of. But then either talks went south or somebody said, or somebody just realized, well, Vince, which one do you think's going to do the job? Because Shamrock, remember at this time, was not finished with his MMA career and would go back, would he not, to high-level MMA for a couple of years after that. I'm trying to remember his career in my mind now chronologically, but point is, same thing as we talked about how, you know, Joe Louis and the wrestling champion never worked, or Jim Londos and the boxing champion, or whatever the case may be, because who's going to do the job? So I can believe there was something going on there, and I remember that they had talks, but I can't chronologically tell the story from contemporaneous notes. And I truthfully didn't think they were going to get Tyson until they got Tyson anyway.
I was going to say, and I maybe remember wrong, I haven't looked into this in a while, was WCW trying to get Tyson when Vince got him?
Yeah, there was talk about that also. Yeah, I remember definitely the risk or the thought that WCW was going after him also.
Does not look like they welcome
Well,
visitors.
Jim, I know if WCW contacted you, one of the first things you would do is contact an attorney.
That's right. I certainly would, because you never know what conniving people with bad intent and snot running down their noses will put into a contract. And that's why, before you sign anything, before you agree to anything, before you tell your wife you're going to take the garbage out tonight, you better call this man.
This was sent to cornydrive-thru@gmail.com from Mark in Waterford, Ireland. I'd like your thoughts on the following question. He then put a question mark. That's not a question mark. I'd like your thoughts on the following question. Who is the bigger star? Brock Lesnar or CM Punk? Not just now, but in the near future. I'm on about the potential of each guy, and if you were booking a main event match like WrestleMania and had one choice, which wrestler would you pick and how would you book them? Who would draw the most, do you think, from stardom power? I want to hear your thoughts. Sweetest regards.
Well, wait a minute. If I'm booking the main event at WrestleMania and I only book one wrestler, I've only got half a main event.
That's the challenge. How good a booker are you?
Well, goddamn not good enough to have a guy have a match with himself. Again, here, it's not just a cut and dried situation, because you have to consider environment and context. Brock Lesnar is the biggest box office attraction that the WWE has available to them to wrestle their number one champion, Roman Reigns. And if they were to, right now, book a match between Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar for Royal Rumble or WrestleMania, any big, whenever they announced it for, that would be the biggest match that they can have, and that would outdraw by a significant margin Roman Reigns versus CM Punk. Because the build is there, the context is there, the story is there for the match between Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar in that company. Now, conversely, if Tony Khan was to suddenly be able to, contractually or whatever, to book Brock Lesnar, then that obviously would get a lot of attention for AEW, and that would be a major signing. But I don't know, and it would certainly increase their profile with the casual fan, the mainstream audience, the UFC fan, whatever, people who know Brock Lesnar's name. But I don't know that he would be more popular in AEW than CM Punk is, because of the same thing, the context, the way this has been built. Punk he's come in there, he made the big splash, he's establishing himself. Brock would shake things up, but would Brock be as beloved a figure to the fans of AEW as Punk is? Probably not. Would Brock Lesnar draw against anybody in AEW right now the same way that he might against somebody in the WWE? I don't think so. But who would it be? Who would he wrestle that would be a big marquee match that you could buy Brock Lesnar against so-and-so in AEW right now? I'm not sure there is one.
You know, I mean, it wasn't done right in WWE. If done right, Danielson and Brock would be pretty cool, especially with the personality Danielson's showing now.
Yeah, but then Brock would have to be the babyface. The only reason Brock's a babyface in WWE right now is because he's on the other side of the ring from Reigns and Heyman. But anyway, the point is, it's a fantasy, hypothetical question, yes, but it shows context and who's going to be his dance partner, and what has past history, where has it brought us up until now. When you change people, sometimes you need to change somebody from one company to the other to freshen them up. But sometimes it means you have to pretty much start from scratch with that person. You wouldn't have to start from scratch with with Brock Lesnar for anything, but he fits the WWE, he fits their style, he's established there, and they've got something that's already ready-made and pre-built. In AEW, you wouldn't have that. But by the same token, if Punk went to WWE again, the same thing would be true. He'd have history, but you'd have to start building things from scratch, and I don't know if that fan base would be as excited to see him back as the AEW fan base is to see him there. But it's a nice problem to have when you're as over as either one of those guys and making the money they're making.
Our next question, Jim, sent to CornyDriveThru@gmail.com from Adrian. Long-time listener, first time sending a question. I would like to know Jim's opinion on FTR's new ring entrance music. It sounds like a remix of the Midnight Express theme. Just wanted to get your take on this.
Well, it is a remix of the Express theme, and we mentioned this on the show several weeks ago when I first heard it, and I'm flattered, just like the homage with the tights, the striped Midnight Express tights. I wish they had, as Gomer Powell used to say, taken off on the original Giorgio Moroder Chase version rather than taken off on the Muzak version that they made when TBS bought Crockett out. Because the original, that's when the original Midnight Express music, Chase, from the movie soundtrack, gave way to what I always thought sounded like a fucking theme from a bad porno movie. It was confusingly similar to, but not suitable,
did not go as planned,
to the Giorgio Moroder tune, and that's the one that they have modified even further for FTR's entrance. But it's the thought that counts, and it's a nice little homage. I appreciate it.
All right, our next question.
As long as it been since I told the story of how I used to change the tapes on the entrance music in the TV truck and confound those people.
A, it's been a while, so please tell them. But B, I'm going to say, and I think the music is a little bit older than the Turner buyout. I think they started before that.
No.
Are you sure?
I'm sure.
Okay, well, I was going to say...
No, wait a minute. I tell a lie. You're correct. You are correct. It was the year of, I believe, but not after the buy, but it was directly in front of. The point being, I know you hate it. I hate it because it was obviously a Muzak version of what I consider to be a well-known piece of music. A lot of people since they go, where'd you find that from? Back, the TV truck took cassette tapes. And that was the same thing as the house show music. The house shows were played on cassettes. Either the building had a cassette player in their sound system, or elsewise, in some of the smaller buildings, or the older buildings, the ring announcer would bring an actual boom box, a portable stereo, and hold the microphone in front of it. I used to do that when I ring announced. So, when they changed the music, and I had called them and asked them, I said, can we check into it? Because TBS became the concern. Even if it was before they bought the company, it wasn't Jimmy Crockett saying, we don't want to play Giorgio. He didn't know who fucking Donna Summer was, much less Giorgio Moroder. It was TBS and the TV rights and all that stuff. I said, can we discuss with whoever might license this music? Because it's not like 10 years after the movie that this thing was a hot fucking record, right? I said, we'll pay for it. I'll pay for it. Or I'll at least try to pay for it. Because we were making big money at the time. They wouldn't even enter into the conversation. I said, all right. So what I would do is I would make cassette tapes of the regular real music. And early in the day, I'd get there at the TV tapings and I'd go into the truck. Because I was doing a lot of commentary too at the time. And also at some points I was on creative or whatever. I knew the crew. I would wander in and out every once in a while, and I would switch I did it half a dozen times. And being that nobody really on the crew was a disco fan or a deep music expert, it all sounded the same to them. So that's why if you go back now, the WWE Network has dubbed over all this music. So it's all been replaced with this generic hillbilly hootenanny hoo-ha they come up with. But if you watch the tapes of the shows the way they aired, one week on TBS you'll see the new music, the rip-off, and then that same weekend on syndication you'll hear the old music play. And then the next week on TBS the old music might play, but then somebody will say, well, how? These tapes have been switched. Oh shit, how did we do that? They think it was an accident, and they put the rip-off music that we're supposed to play back in. And it went that way for a couple months back and forth. then I think they started catching on to me.
I understand why you hate that music, but to a lot of Midnight Express fans like myself, while not as good as the original, of course it's not, it's still a pretty cool song. Calling it Muzak is a bit of a stretch, I think. I understand why you don't like it, but it's still cooler than most wrestler theme songs.
Well, and now I've come to find that apparently the rip-off, the revamped version, is highly sought after for the full-length thing without other noise on top of it, and a lot of the fans like that music and look back on that piece fondly. But it wasn't what we started with, and it wasn't the original idea of the whole thing. And I was sold on that original piece of music just because when we first went to Mid-South, our first time in every town, and I remember specifically Oklahoma City was big, we'd be standing there waiting to come out, and this was before anybody except Junkyard Dog and maybe one or two other people in Mid-South had used music. And none of the heels usually didn't use it. Murdoch had used the Marine Corps Battle March or whatever.
As a babyface, though.
As a babyface. The heels didn't usually have music at all. And we would stand there and we'd been on TV, but the people had never seen us live in the arena, and the music would hit, and it wouldn't be a cheer, and it wouldn't be a boo, it would be the whoo, like we're going to see them now. And that's how we knew that the TV was working before they even saw us, our music got a reaction like that.
Who?
And we're coming out for the third preliminary match.
According to Tarleton, anyone with powers is a threat. They made sure I'll never use mine. Altered my physiology, so if I change size,
a preliminary match
I'll
and the
die.
people popping before they see the talent, that's how you knew that the shit was working. And you were getting over.
Records show a secure lab at the end of this hallway.
Vince McMahon Jr., now of course he's a case like Rey Mysterio Jr., where they were a junior and then all of a sudden they weren't. Well, Jim, every time we talk about Omaha Steaks, I get hungry, so let's get a few more questions and then go eat.
Alrighty, yeah. Oh, wait.
Well,
I just looked out the window. Hank from next door is taking a shit on my
Aim
driveway.
knows we're here now, so be ready for trouble.
Hank from next door is taking a shit on the driveway.
Is Hank a dog?
Yes. Well, what you think? It's a human being?
Who the fuck is that dog?
The AIM equipment storage cache is nearby. It might be worth
The
exploring.
guy that lives next door, he doesn't shit on my driveway. You never know. Shit about behind my propane. The dog from next door often uses his driveway. Hank. That's a common name. That dog once he disappeared.
Let's get another question here. Check it. This next one was sent to QuentyDriveThru@gmail.com from Frank Wilson in Neptune, New Jersey.
Frank! I haven't seen Frank in ever. I don't know who Frank is.
Greetings from the Jersey Shore, Jim and Brian. Been following Jim's career since the After magazines of the 1980s. Been watching him on TV in the WWF beginning in 1993. Let me stop right there.
And he's from the Jersey Shore.
Is that interesting to you, someone who's saying you followed your career but didn't see you until you got to the WWF?
Well, because he's from Jersey. Those people are culturally challenged up there.
Maybe so,
Stay
but
alert.
TBS.
Actually,
AIM
the
always has a backup.
first time Sonny told me she was from the Jersey Shore, I misheard her. I thought she said Jersey whore. But I'm trying with the material you're giving me.
Well, the material I was giving you was an actual question, but let's now go back to the question.
Back to the question.
My question's for Jim.
Some people did indeed only see me for the first time when I went to the WWF, as surprising as it may be, because they didn't have cable or especially in the far
place.
northeast, Crockett's syndication.
God knows
was
what
not.
Tarleton did to Inhumans in the name of his twisted progress.
To be quite honest, most people in the South were not watching the WWF syndication at that point. It was new to them.
My questions for Jim are about Hulk Hogan leaving the WWF at about the same time as when Jim arrived. I feel like us fans
I
missed out.
told him, I said, listen, I'll come in, but only if you kick that fucking motherfucker out. I am not going to share a locker room with Hulk Hogan. And so they dispatched him. They future endeavored him. And then I came in.
I feel like us
You
fans
sure this is the
missed out
right
on some
place?
classic
I've nearly
cornet
breached
promos
Ames
because of
network.
this.
They're hiding something.
Firstly,
Stand by
does Jim
and
have
see to
any
the
regrets about
enforcement.
not
Oh,
working
they'll
a
get
program with
sent
Hogan?
Please work fast,
Secondly,
Jarvis.
how
Fast
would
as my
Jim have booked
processor
such a
allows.
program in the WWF in 1993? And finally, who would Jim have preferred to be doing the program? With the host? And most of the time, all of your contributions to the business ended by
Well, you don't know anything about my contributions. You haven't seen my tax returns. I'd probably take the leg drop at the end, but no, I'm glad he added that at the end to do it over the years. Another agent great. A longer program. I know they had like shows passing in the night here long enough for Hogan to fucking, you know, do that screwiness that they did when he left. Just like Undertaker was tremendous. Yokozuna against Hulk Hogan. He had the size. He was obviously, you know, powerful enough, etc. He was a worker that he would not have. Beat the shit out of
Seems AIM intends to physically remove some kind of research samples from their
84, 83 to 93.
An automated transport ship is preparing for takeoff.
I mean, yes.
Whatever's on that transport, I want it
Obviously, he
captured.
should be there.
Get to it before
if
it
Hulk
leaves.
Hogan is in the WWF, he's the guy you wanted to work a program with, but it was never in my mind because he was already gone when I got there. So it's not, and I never went like, oh shit, I just missed it. I came, as we all mentioned, because to get the Smoky Mountain Wrestling mentioned on WWF television, get the Heavenly Bodies a good payoff in a spot, and do the talent trade. And they hit me the first day that we showed up at Raw with, well, hey, would you work with Yoko? Okay,
I'm
sure.
bypassing their security now.
And it
Stand by.
developed that way.
Do you think they would have asked you that question if Hogan was still there
How do we
and
stop
they were
that
doing
thing
something with
taking
Hogan
off?
and Yoko?
I don't know if we can, but I could attempt to divert the transport from its intended destination. Excellent idea. See if you can reprogram its destination to the anthill.
Well, I don't...
Looks like we made it just in time.
Luger was
Get close to those terminals so I can infiltrate their
had
network.
the idea he wanted to
We
make
must control
Luger his
all
next
three
guy
to
at
override the
that
transport's navigation systems.
And
Be on
he knew
guard.
that Luger
AIM will try to
needed
regain control
the
of the
help.
terminals.
It wasn't about getting Yoko over to work with Luger. It was about us all working together to get Luger over. I think that's what initially
We just
he
lost an
realized.
access point.
Because
Return it
if
to
you
our
have
control. AIM has regained control of the terminal.
Hogan's already
Please
so
deal with
massively
it.
over and Yoko's so impressive, even if the promos from the heel side were the best,
An
it
AIM
wasn't.
unit took back control of the
Vince would have said, oh, we got to bring somebody in. As in hindsight, it appears they did, because I wasn't in on those conversations. But we got to bring somebody in to get this thing over verbally, because Lex is not the promo that Hogan is. Fuji's not a promo, bless him. Yoko can't speak for himself, something needs to be done. If it was Hogan and Yoko, I believe they would. Fuji had been a manager there for 10 fucking years. He was getting more physically disabled and unable to do things, but the promos were still the same. They were neither better nor worse than they've been. I think Hogan could have carried something like that. They would have needed to
AIM has regained control
think
of the
outside the
terminal.
box,
Please deal
like
with
they
it.
did with me, sneak me up there under somewhat false pretenses of, yeah, we want to work with the Heavenly Bodies and we'll mention Smoky Mountain, and then they hit me with it when I got there, which was fine. But I don't know if Hogan had been involved, if they'd have done the same thing, which would have been fine also.
Would you have enjoyed at that time of day managing against Hogan if Hogan was managed by Jimmy Hart?
That would have probably made it more fun, because here's the thing, the most fun that I had managing Yokozuna was the matches with The Undertaker, because they could fucking go.
We just lost an access point. Return to our control.
Earthquake, Shock Tendo, sumo matches, that was brutal. Yoko match Yoko against the bigger guys, it didn't work. Yoko and Bret Hart was tremendous. That was the first, really, after I got in and got settled with the thing with Luger, that's the first direction we went for house shows and etc. But if Jimmy Hart and Yoko and Hogan would have not have been great matches, we would have made money because it was Hulk Hogan that I mentioned. But as far as having fun, yeah, if Jimmy was over there on the other side to do something with, that would have been fun. But enjoying matches and making money at them sometimes is two different things. So would I have enjoyed them with Hogan? Probably not, because it would have been that great. Would I have made a lot of money? Of course, because it was Hogan. Oh boy. After that match, Officer Bar Brady was in the back with Jericho. And here comes Danny Garcia at 2.0. And they interrupted this promo. And this was all... the whole thing was done so that Jericho could do in a backstage promo, could do square head jokes on the mouthy member of 2.0 and try to get the crowd out in the arena watching the screen to chant square head at the aforementioned 2.0 member.
It's taking off!
Jarvis,
Did
tell me
you
you got it.
understand
Yes,
this?
sir.
Or do I not understand it? Of course it was understandable, but did you?
Should be arriving at the
Why was this necessary?
Excellent work,
Exactly
everyone.
why this was necessary.
Head back here and we'll begin digging through those same research samples.
First of all, it wasn't good. Jericho's material gets lamer and lamer, and when you see all the good shit on shows,
that didn't go quite according to plan.
and then you see Jericho stuff, it's
We've got some valuable research samples, but AIM is far more powerful than I had anticipated.
And they've got so many of my people. We have to stop them.
Agreed. Come on, we need some time to regroup. When Tony gets here with the Chimera, we'll be in a much better position to go on the offensive.
Okay.
This was what Chris Jericho did to AJ Styles and so many others.
Head back to the anthill and we'll talk about next steps.
He's the most over guy on these shows, getting monster pops. People love him. People relate to him, whatever it is. This is Jericho's way of latching on to Eddie Kingston for a few weeks, so he could be out there with Eddie Kingston. Jericho's the king of latching on to what's happening. The key is you got to try to disengage before he drags you down to his level.
Sure.
And not too many people have successfully been able to do that.
Now, see, I don't know now, because you're just making accusations there. Now, if Chris Jericho was a person that wanted to latch on to what's popular and sap the heat or sap the affection or sap the attention from someone else, then he would have had a long track record of this from the time he's been in the company. He would have latched on to, well, you know, the boss's favorite wrestler, the company mascot, my little dog Pockets. He would have had a program with him, but that would have made no sense except, well, he would have latched on to a guy like MJF, and he would have made him subservient to Jericho's whims, and he would have had him doing stupid well, so he would have, poor Eddie. Poor Eddie.
Well, let's hope it's quick. It's only a few weeks. Let's hope Moxley comes back soon, and maybe we get Eddie and Moxley again. But I think that's...
Wait a minute now. Hold on. You mean to tell me I have to hope Moxley comes back so that I don't have Eddie Kingston ruined by Chris Jericho? That's a Faustian bargain.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying you could also hope for Fozzy to have a hit record. You could also hope that...
I could also hope for Pamela Anderson to come knocking on my door wanting to blow me.
That
would hope
may be more likely to happen.
The other one and see which one fills up first.
And we heard from a lot of people, and I think we we should issue a correction. Apparently the Butcher's Band, again, not necessarily a band I would listen to, much more popular than Fozzy, Chris Jericho's band. We heard from a number of people, some who were even mad at us for not recognizing that the Butcher's Band is infinitely times more popular than Chris Jericho's band. So I apologize and I issue a correction.
We do apologize for that. Anyway, so therefore, Jericho's mixed up with Garcia in 2.0, so's Kingston. You don't have to put it in code words to know what's coming next, apparently. But I'll tell you what, Brian. Yeah. If you do want to learn some code words, then I know where you can go.
Where's that?
Why? To hell, of course. No, to Code Academy. Folks, if you want to learn all kinds of weird words that you don't know what they mean, you can go to Code Academy. There's never been a better time than right now to become a programmer. I don't even know whether the time is right now or not for me to become a programmer, but I bet it is for you. With Code Academy, you can learn to code on your own terms. And I didn't know that, but apparently that's exactly what you can call Code Academy. You can say, I'll give you $16. That's your terms, and they'll take it. You can learn code on your own terms. We are living in a fast-changing world, ladies and gentlemen. I noticed it the last time that I went out in public. I saw, for heaven's sake, things are now in color. And folks, one of the best ways to succeed in today's ever-changing world is to learn how to code. Whether you're looking to start from scratch or looking to advance, Code Academy can help you reach your coding goals. Did you know, Brian, that over 50 million people already know that Code Academy is the best way to learn code?
Yes.
Did you know that almost 1,000 of those have actually gone to Code Academy and done the learning of the code?
Yes.
I don't know where those 50 million people are hiding because I can't find one to fix my internet service. Anyway, Code Academy, Anyway.
What's going on?
I heard what happened with the dropship. They just wanted to give you something.
Code Academy not only teaches you job-ready coding skills, but also helps you build unique projects for your portfolio. I'll have you know I built a replica of Fort Boonesboro out of toothpicks. You can also earn certificates and even prep for technical interviews. How technical are they? You won't understand a goddamn word that's said there either. Folks,
that's what you wanted.
It's a great chance to learn to encode yourself, and people will never be able to figure out what you're saying because no matter what your experience level, when you go to Code Academy, when you knock on that front door of Code Academy and they open that big tall door and they let you in, and they take your cell phone and your wallet and your passport and they put it in that little locker.
That's not how this works.
And then they put you in that room and sit you down in front of that little desk with that pen and that pad of paper and they tell you to get to write.
What?
No matter what your experience level, you'll be writing real working code in minutes.
Not like that. Hold on. Just for the record, they accept anybody. There's no big door you have to worry about getting through. The door is wide open. Just go on your computer and you
have
can
to
learn.
knock 3 times.
No, you could just go and learn.
3 times and then twice on the pipes, and that way they know it's a code. And that way they know to open the door and let you in. They have to take people's cell phones and wallets and passports, elsewise people would try to take off and spread the secrets.
Like stretchy arms and stuff.
This is code.
No one will be taking your phones or wallets, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, just until you leave if they let you. And then when they sit you down at that desk and they give you that pad of paper and that pen and you start writing code.
No.
Well, folks, in some cases you're writing a note to a loved one asking them to pay the ransom.
No. In no cases is that what you're doing.
Sometimes the note says, fuck these people, don't pay them. But I don't know, it's up to you. But, you know, finding the right career or job can impact your life.
My mom came
And
back
you've
from
heard
me.
that a lot of people are quitting as part of the Great Resignation. People have finally said, take this job and shove it. I ain't going out in the pandemic for these pennies. Well, now you can earn dimes and nickels. And you can even aspire to quarters by going to Code Academy, learning the coded languages, Python,
Why
and
isn't anyone
Intimal
listening to
Symbol.
me? I overheard Dr. Panda moving all the prisoners to a new
personality
location.
quiz. You can take this personality quiz to get tailored career advice
They'll find
and
that
course
too.
recommendations
No, they won't.
based on your strengths
Avengers will be too
and
late.
interests
Yeah,
and
what do you mean?
interests and interests is what it says here.
Yeah.
I took their personality quiz.
Oh
We're
no.
inhuman.
They told me there is no career
No one
suitable
cares
for me.
about us.
Stay home.
Stay home. Stop doing this. Don't do this anymore. You can get instant feedback. As we mentioned, instant feedback is very helpful.
I've got it,
Stop
Edwards.
touching me.
Do
Your
something.
breath smells.
That's not the feedback you will get. You will get constructive feedback and criticism. No criticism. Feedback that will help you learn how to code.
They'll give you criticism.
Gotta
They'll
convince
be
Bruce and Dr. Pym
criticized.
to go back to the
They'll
prison.
say, stay off my leg. Build your portfolio and get a certificate of completion. Every time I reach completion, I like a certificate to remind myself of that fact. You'll be more Speaking of being full of piss and vinegar, here comes the gun club. Colton and Billy Gunn. Now, what's the other son's name?
Oh,
Austin?
Austin, that's right. That's
Austin?
Yeah.
Okay, Austin is not competing in this. He's at ringside, and they face the team of Bear Country. From where were they from New York? Do they even have bears in New York? They were announced from New York State.
Yeah, in New York State we do, not in New York City, obviously.
Well, no, in New York City you've got other kinds of animals. And some rats big as bears. But anyway, I got to admit I didn't fast forward this program, but I zoned out on the match, because what the fuck, it's Bear Country. This was, obviously, they have a plan to do something with Billy and his son, Zuh, depending on whether the other one's ready to wrestle or whatever the case. But this was just to get them out there and get a win and then get some interaction going on with Sting and Darby Allin. So, you know, obviously the Guns won the match, and a nice win. That was the proper result. And then Sting comes out the entranceway, and he's kind of in the aisleway. And Austin, the other Gun son, the other son of a gun, says, I'll get him, Dad, and he goes after him, and as he's running up towards Sting, Darby Allin, like the guy in the Barclays Center that took Seth Rollins down, only faster, he came out of nowhere, and it wasn't a dive. Darby Allin doesn't do dives, and thank God for that. He just launches himself like a missile and just
Camaro with a few supplies.
body blocked the fuck out of old Austin Gunn. And now Darby and Sting go to the ring, and the other two Guns bail out.
It's just genius.
So apparently this is still going to continue, and
Yeah, what's up?
I'm not minding it. And
Amy's
Billy
moving
is
the
so
humans to a more
professional.
secure
He had that
location.
match with Darby
So-
Allin that we loved on the other show that we just talked about
I'm sorry,
days ago.
who's
Rampage.
Dante? One of our inhuman
Because he did it
survivors.
exactly as he should and got
We were able to
Darby
get
over
him out
exactly
while
like
his
he
mother
should
was
and
still
didn't try to
inside,
insult
and our
anybody's
escape pod
intelligence that
only
he's going to be out there
shrugged.
taking bumps for a guy that's 100
God.
pounds lighter and a foot
Look,
shorter.
we have to help them.
That's
so
not a
if
good idea.
Billy's in there to control this, and
There's
we get a little
Inhumans
Billy
in
and
there.
Sting.
I don't understand.
That
Dante's
might be
mom.
interesting,
Just sit
but
down and do nothing.
We're not going to sit around.
I'd
doing
like
nothing,
to
okay?
maybe
Billy
see
just left for the energy cores.
the
and
two
he's coming
kids
for
as the
weekend,
team, just to
less
see
than
if the other one's ready. I don't know what their situation is.
I'm assuming there's a reason why we're
We
not
have
seeing
the
the two
Hulk.
kids as a team right now.
Well, one would think
Resistance
either
has
that
been
or
trying
maybe
to
because there's only
infiltrate
two
that
of Darby
facility
and
for
Sting.
months. Getting
And
out as far
Billy
as
kind of
we could
has to
getting
be in there to
We had
fucking
help.
shepherd everything, or
From the
else
ground,
you'd
his
have a lot
walls
of
are nearly
greenness.
I
impenetrable.
assume this is just a short program, kind of like
You
MJF and
saw
Pillman
it.
Jr., but I liked it so far.
I could help.
The body check.
I
There's
understand. You're not
One of the
inhuman.
coolest things ever. I love Darby Allin. He's one of my favorite guys there. Whatever you want to say about him, he's never stupid.
You're not ready.
He's serious, maybe a little dour, but he's serious.
I like that word.
I'm sorry.
He lays everything in. We said that from the very beginning. He was the one guy in a promotion filled with guys doing dives. His looked like they would kill you. And you know what? They probably wouldn't because he weighs 150 fucking pounds. But they look amazing. And he flew out of nowhere, running top speed. He just checked him. I mean, it was brutal. I mean, it looked like it was brutal. And then he got up and he just stared at the ring. And he's serious, and the fans buy him. Darby Allin is one of the highlights of AEW. And I think he's great. This was great. And the place went nuts for it.
Yes. And by the way, folks, dour. The American Heritage Dictionary, 3rd edition. Dour, stern, forbidding, silently ill-humored, gloomy. So there you go. There you go. That's perfect. Dour Darby Allin. The man of the dour. The next match I was actually looking forward to seeing because it was Colt Cabana against Bryan Danielson. And we're in Chicago, which is not only the hometown of CM Punk, but it's the last place in the universe that anybody still cares about Colt Cabana. So I'm thought this shouldn't be bad. And the thing about Cabana, as I mentioned years ago when we used to talk about him, he can work. He's not only normal size, but good size. 230 pounds, he's 6 feet tall or more. He can work. Not only can he work regular when he wants to, he can work and be serious and not make the funny facials, but he's excellent with mat wrestling, and he spent a lot of time in the United Kingdom, and he studied the world of sports style. We even had him in Ring of Honor years ago. I think it was Dave Taylor we brought in Atlanta so they could do a little world of sport match, because he's good at it. Cabana's always been one of these guys that was just a comedian because he wanted to be, not because he had to be. And the thing is, his comedy, he did stand-up comedy, which I saw clips of, was never funny. And his matches, never funny. They're just silly. And he made faces and did things. But he can work when he tries, and he can be serious when he tries. And he tried here. Until the end. We'll get to that in a second. But this needed to be a strong heel win for Bryan Danielson over a guy that can work, that can have a good match, that the people in the building would like because it's his hometown, and that's what they did. And both of them, they knew that. And I mean, I had to do one time, Delirious wanted to do Colt and Davey Richards. I said, all right, but can Colt be serious? Because doing that fucking ha-ha is the complete antithesis of what Richards does, and he's the one we're pushing. And even if he beats Colt, if Colt isn't serious, it can make Davey Richards look stupid. And he can do it, and he did. He can do it when he wants to, and he did. Danielson healed on him. You mentioned earlier in the program, you could tell Danielson on his face is having a ball. Because this is so easy. Because he can play these fans like a fiddle and knows how to heal them while still being the friendly, smiling-faced guy and just saying the little needly things that gets under their skin.
Yes.
But anyway, come back, boom, 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 back and forth, and finally, Danielson got the LaBelle lock. And the only criticism I have of Colt in this is, did you see...
You still up this late?
I don't know that there was ever a more unenthusiastic...
I was going to lie, but I'm going to the prison.
Urgent tap in my life.
Respect.
He gets
Right
LaBelle locked.
Really?
And
Just
Colt,
like that?
he just
I've got a good feeling about
nobody
it.
could see it. Did he not want to tap out in Chicago?
It's not
I
safe
didn't
out
even
there.
see the
Thanks,
tap,
Steve.
actually.
There was barely one there. It was sort of like he was drumming his fingers on the mat. The ref said, fuck it, I'll take it.
Yeah, I thought they were trying to tease that he may tap, but he was going quick and the referee had to stop it. I'm still not sure what they were trying to give off there.
What I thought what they were trying to give off was Colt was kind of miffed that he's having to tap out instead of getting pinned in his hometown, and so he did it in a very lackluster fashion.
He can't have a problem with this. Of all the people to lose to, one of the biggest guys in the company, a big star.
Then how do you explain the fucking measly little tap, and there was no feet kicking, there was no hand tapping, there was no... It was like... Okay. But it was good till then. But then it killed the tap out.
Punk, flips over Moriarty. He's got him hooked on the shoulder. Whoa. GTS! What a shot from CM Punk, and what a win!
The winner of this match, CM Punk!
Still undefeated, 8-0 in AEW. And mercifully, MJF has taken off his... Oh, but he's got a microphone, of course. Cut his music! Cut his music! Oh, he's directing Cut his music!
to
Those
see you.
Inhumans need our
Good
help.
to see you. Listen,
works
last
the
week
most
you
for
said
good.
you were disappointed in me, and that's interesting because honestly, I'm proud of you, man. I really am. I am. It takes a lot of balls to come out here and claim to be the best in the world when you're struggling to beat the likes of QT Marshall and Lee Moriarty. I guess the only thing you're the best in the world at nowadays is trying to get in Britt Baker's pants. What's the matter, PG Punk? You look unamused. Coincidentally, that's exactly what Britt would look like if you got her in the bedroom. Buddy, you ain't CM Punk. You're one punk junk. Oh, he's got something to say.
I think it's only fair that CM Punk be able to respond to the scum of the earth, Maxwell Jacob Friedman.
You got a lot of nerve coming out here talking about pants, Britt Baker's or otherwise, when you're clearly wearing Larry David's pajamas. Yeah.
No, you don't get to do the ad. I do the ad.
You can talk all you want about me struggling beating QT or beating Lee Moriarty. The fact is they're both better than you, and you know it.
That's cute. That's cute. That's cute, Georgia.
Hey. Shut up. You shut up. I'll shut up. Bring your little needle dick into this ring right now, and I'll kick your ass all the way back to Long Island.
Let's do it right now here in
You want to
Atlanta.
see me and CM Punk go at it? Too bad. Let me explain something to you, PG Punk. You need me more than I need you. I am a spark to a flame you haven't had since 2011. But don't you worry.
I'll be back before Bruce
Shut
even
up.
knows I was gone.
Don't you worry, because I'm going to show you what a real professional looks like next week when I win the Dynamite Dozen Battle Royal in the most magical place in the world, known as Long Island, New York. And I will finally be amongst fans who that I love and appreciate, and the feeling's mutual, buddy. I'm going to be better than Piper in Portland. I'm gonna be better than Brett in Canada. I'm gonna be better than CM Punk in Chicago. Laugh all you want, dipshit, because I am going to be amongst a sea of people rocking the burb, chanting my name at the top of their goddamn lungs. No. Speaking of loud noises, I guess you must have brought your dog Larry this week, because I could hear him yip-yapping away in the back. And I'm gonna be honest, friend to friend, man to man, if I were you, I wouldn't bring that flea-ridden, disgusting maggot of a dog around here anymore. Because if you do, PG Punk, I'm gonna put Larry to sleep.
And CM Punk making a beeline for MJF, and MJF, oh, wait a second. Of course, MJF with backup, with Wardlow to step in between himself and Punk. Money well spent by MJF because CM Punk have some face in here tonight on Dynamite.
Well, I said at the top of the program, they picked this week to soar with the Eagles instead of scratching with the chickens. The night before Thanksgiving was a magic night for AEW. The entire program was not only inoffensive, but actually pretty good. Notice who wasn't on. Well, and we are entering a golden period, ladies and gentlemen, where we don't have to look at Twinkle Toes McFingerbang until, at least from what I'm hearing, the end of February. We got no Moxley on the show. He's getting his treatment or whatever, but a byproduct of it is somebody else gets a chance. The Hardley Boys.
That was who I was speaking of specifically from this episode.
Yes, their involvement is hopefully going to be minimized going forward since we have actual talent now. And this, as a television wrestling program, what AEW did on the Wednesday night before Thanksgiving is better than anything that we've seen from the WWE in ages. And it's not because, they're more professional than the WWE. They've got the big budget that the WWE. They've got the great production crew, blah, blah, blah. They've got the buildings. They've got the whole 9 yards. They just, what they put out in front of you as content in the WWE is now either silly or mostly
this is the real deal.
It's just
Keep it together.
boring. Even the stuff there's nothing unprofessional going on. There's nothing exciting going on either. But when AEW puts the people that they've got that can perform in one fashion or another out there and lets them do it, and they shoot it like a wrestling show, it almost looks like a wrestling show. Imagine that. And I guess this is going to be JR's last show for a month. He's going to have to do 20-something radiation treatments for his skin cancer over the course of the next month, which means pretty much every day almost. So he's going to have to take some time off, and I think I saw something where Tony Khan tweeted that he'd be back, or he hoped he'd be back on their New Year's Eve week show from Florida. So good luck, JR, with the treatments, and I hope that goes well, and we'll see. Just taking someone out of that booth couldn't hurt. Since there's more announcers than, in some cases, some wrestling companies have wrestlers on the roster. They've got more announcers. So just taking somebody out for a while might help a little bit.
I agree, and it should be Shivani, and let's all wish JR get well soon, and I'm sure he'll be back hopefully very soon on AEW TV.
And somebody said, well, why does Cornette still not like excrement, since he's the only one that really is excited to call what he's watching? And if he'd take the fucking mask off and become a real human being and not look like an embarrassing outlaw prick, then it would be a whole lot easier to take. But since that's never going to happen because he still has to remind everybody that he once masqueraded as a professional wrestler, it won't happen.
They should go the other way and have all the other announcers start wearing masks. Completely takes any of the importance away from it.
Hey, in the first year of this program, I'm surprised that JR didn't fucking just don a mask. Some of the... So at least his face wouldn't be on the thing. But anyway, Wednesday night, the night before Thanksgiving, they're in Chicago, Illinois. Where do you gotta start? Where do you gotta start, Brian?
I'm not gonna sing it.
Like Mussolini and extra cheese, pickles, onions, if you please. Put it on the bun, the mayo there. I'll eat it in my underwear.
Oh, come on, enough.
I'm the cult of meat with extra cheese. The cult of meat with extra cheese. Now with tomato.
Oh, I didn't expect that.
Marshall. Punk's a safe shot in Chicago every time, but suddenly, the music of MJF, not QT Marshall. And I'm saying, well, it's Christmas come early. And by the time he gets to the ring, he doesn't even, the people are ready to hear this. They've wanted to hear this, just like everybody else has, because Punk's noted for his promos, MJF's noted for his promos, and also they're two of the most interesting personalities in the company. And MJF, he did, before he barely even had to speak, they had the asshole chance, the CM Punk chance, the shut the fuck up chance. And then they started. And the way they did this, if you notice when they started out, they were all the way across the ring from each other in opposite corners, and Punk is just humoring this little prick, like, what the fuck is this guy come out here to say? And let him say it. And over the, I don't want to jump ahead, but over the course of the thing, as the comments got more heated and there got to be more back and forth, that's when they got up closer together to each other. So they didn't start up, they knew they were going a while. So they didn't start face to face, because then where are you going to go? Remember, I mentioned that before.
Way into me.
Especially with MJ, some of this stuff.
Just get these open, and I'm
before
in.
he gets to his go home line, he's already emasculated the face. He's right there up in front of him, where he can reach him. This time they started and they gradually came together. But Punk let MJF build it, and he just sat back and got the facials and the reactions to it. But you know, MJF brought the, the only straight edge I've ever seen look like that. And I'm going to verbally finish you quicker than your UFC career. That was yeah, I'm sure heard that at another level. I didn't know if they were ever going to bring that up in AEW. I figured it would be a sore spot. And who's going to bring it up? The one guy who wanted to really annoy him. And
I can't give up. Humans are counting on
Punk going to get a microphone and somebody handed him a microphone, but people popped on that because they were, oh, okay, here we go. My jealous fan they beat with a less famous Miz. Oh my, what a burn! Let's say. Reactions. Yes, from both guys. Different reactions, but the cameras on their faces.
No
problem. Reactions, and it was perfect.
Hey, murder robot.
It was like,
maybe I should
obviously, both these guys couldn't. It wasn't obvious. You couldn't see a mile away that somebody had written this down, or even that they had written it down and practiced it. It seemed off the cuff, spontaneous. Two guys trying to blister each other as best they could and keep up their respective reputations with that. You know, MJF, you're dressing because you've been kissing so much ass. It's PG Punk. And then he starts comparing him to John Cena. But I did think that it was, ironic, funny, preposterous, that in front of this crowd, being compared to the biggest star that the wrestling business has made in the last 15 years is bad. It's the reality. And it's just where everybody was. But anyway, as they wound up and got worked up and got closer to each other, and MJF said, "You're the second best. That's all you've ever been, and you're better than you know it." And comes back, instead of being mad and yelling at him and pissed off, you're right. At first, I didn't know if they'd still give a shit. I didn't know if I still had it. I might know, but I'm not scared anymore. I'm not sure anymore. Whatever, and I'm not scared of you. And I'll let you make the New York Times again. This time in the obituaries. And then he told him off and escalated it again. Replaced as one of the four pillars by Britt Baker.
Clear. We
and
deliver
then the
pure.
only way that you'll ever be
Control
number
the
one is
media.
if Tony has a daughter and you marry her.
But this pure of yours.
That's and I even saw somebody complaining that they spend too much time talking about the other company.
I saw a lot of that, and I think in a lot of cases in wrestling,
I'm
it's a
giving
real
you
thing.
something
Like an
better.
Impact. Don't talk about WWE. Makes you look
The
small,
launch
but that
of the
wasn't what this
adapter
was.
will be the
No,
perfect
these guys
distraction.
didn't ignore the obvious,
And
the things that everyone in that audience knew about. And by bringing all that stuff up, it made it all seem
like terrorism.
Yeah, you believed what they were saying. These are things you may not necessarily think you would ever hear on a wrestling show, which is why you got some of those reactions. I think anyone who had a problem with them talking about, I mean, they didn't just go out there and yell WWF, WWE, excuse me. But they referenced things that everyone knows about. It made perfect sense.
Yes. And they reference a place that he's been, and they referenced a fucking...
of the gas is still
all those fans know what's going on.
And without my formula
and they know the relationships, and they know the track records, and it was good stuff, and like you said, it made it seem real. And then after the...
gave us the adapter.
If you married Tony's daughter, that's, well...
My formula kept you alive.
Here now, you know...
Now, if I could
the laundry starts
isolate
coming
how
off,
it manifests within the Inhumans, I know I can reverse the effects. There are more opportunities here.
Here comes the jacket, here comes the blah blah blah, and then MJF rolls out and takes off like a heel. Fuck! We ain't gonna get to see it now, but we want to see it. That was, I mean, it's pro wrestling without any physicality whatsoever. The first step of pro wrestling is get people interested in the personalities. The second step in pro wrestling is get the personalities in conflict with each other where the people want to see them fight. And then the third step in pro wrestling is let them have the fight and sell tickets to it. Or pay-per-views, or draw ratings, or whatever the scale is these days. And that's what they're fucking doing. And I was gobsmacked that, again, you don't see anything that real or legitimate or just well done on anything the WWE does, because even if they had anybody that could talk like this, they don't let them. And those fucking mean-brained, little fucking minutia-dick fucking comedy writers hand them shit and say, no, you'll say this, word for word, and it sounds like it. So, this is where AEW can easily blow the WWE television programs out of the water, is with real, interesting promos. Because it's the only place that guys are allowed to do them, and honestly, how many places have guys that can talk like MJF and Punk? So there you have that.
I can't rave enough about this segment. I watched it more than once. I tweeted it out. I never tweet out shit. I tweeted this out because you know what?
Because you're on the payroll.
Because I'm on the payroll. Tony, I need a raise. But, you know, I tweeted it out because it represents what I want out of wrestling. We can't go backwards. I don't ever want to go backwards. Everyone's like, you know, go back to 1985. I don't want to go to 1985. I want to live now. But there are things you can apply that worked in 1985 that you shouldn't just reject because they're from 1985. What I like about this is it's diametrically opposed to a Young Bucks segment, where I think even if you like them, you have to admit there's goofiness, there's silliness, beyond a natural goofiness and silliness.
I still haven't replaced the admin code
Their
I
wrestler
installed
Chip
last
Duggan
time.
was naturally goofy on promo. I'm not talking about WWF with Chip Duggan. But the Young Bucks stuff, and I'm using them to encapsulate a lot of the bad shit, the Orange Cassidy stuff, the Matt Hardy stuff, a lot of this crap that I think doesn't belong on a national broadcast in 2021, it makes me embarrassed to be a wrestling fan, and it makes me not like what I'm watching. But when I see stuff like this, when I see stuff like Danielson right now, stuff that treats it like it's real, stuff that doesn't insult your intelligence, stuff that's logical, that makes sense, that doesn't seem ridiculous, this is my argument for what wrestling should be right now. This stuff right here, that's captivating, that goes 20 minutes, and you can't fucking turn away from it. I couldn't leave the room. I was getting called downstairs. Said, I'll be down in a few minutes. I usually pause the shit and go downstairs.
Well, and part of that was because Suzanne forgot to leave you the keys to the handcuffs.
Well, maybe so. But this was a phenomenal segment. I didn't want it to end. It went a couple of different directions that I didn't expect. And this is 2 weeks in a row now where I can't wait to see what's going to happen next with these two. Nothing physical. Right now it's just mocking each other and getting under each other's skin. Draw this out. We said last time, don't rush it. You got something special here. You got the biggest star in that company. I would argue the biggest star in the entire wrestling next biggest star.
The number 2 it is,
quite frankly. This is a special moment and a special feud, and so far, 2 weeks in, it's been great, and to me, it perfectly shows what I think wrestling in 2021, in terms of the angles and interviews and segments outside of the matches. This is what I think it should be. Everything can't be this, but everything can have the tone of this.
Well, yeah, and you mentioned if it's real so it would work in any time period. In the 80s, they would have been yelling at each other about, well, I beat so-and-so and I beat so-and-so and I beat, well, you cheated to beat me. And they would have been talking about the finish of something or their record like that was completely legitimate. People would have been with it because they thought it was. Now, they were still making comments that the people could believe were legitimate. They're just personal. They're not coming out and saying the wrestling business is 100% real, and they're not coming out and saying that the wrestling business is 100% work or anything in between. They are making it personal, and each one of them is, well, not each one of them. Punk isn't jealous of MJF, but MJF, the heel, is jealous of Punk and trying to get over him. So it's still, instead of in the storyline context, instead of fighting over a championship or being screwed in a finish or whatever, treating the business that way, they treat the business still seriously as a competition amongst who's going to be the biggest star and who can get over, and they don't mention anything that would buzzkill you and take you out of the moment and remind you that wrestling is a work. So it's just a little different way of approaching two guys having a problem with each other. In a work environment where you can still believe there's some animosity. And the thing that fans know is that there actually is legitimate animosity in a lot of cases amongst guys who want to occupy the same spot, whether the endeavor that they're participating in is work or not. So yeah, this could be modern wrestling.
So many people from interviews, from different things, from wrestlers who work there, that Tony loves Mid-South Wrestling. Early on, remember we heard that this is going to be like a modern version of Mid-South Wrestling.
Yes, which was why I was so particularly offended after hearing that when I saw the legless boy and whatever.
This and Danielson the last few weeks, this is Mid-South Wrestling in 2021.
Yes. Yep.
So I think it's important to note that because there's still a lot of other really bad shit. There's a lot of other shit that's improving. There's a lot of other people who may right now be doing something to hold them over until the next thing. But there's still bad shit. But the good shit in AEW right now is the best shit in years. This is very promising. I mean, 2 weeks in, everyone's been buzzing about this segment. A 20-minute talking segment. People are sick of talking segments. It didn't feel like the normal talking segment.
No, as a matter of fact, and we're not over with Punk's business yet, but when I speed searched through the commercial, which that's really the only time I used the speed search this week, when I went through the commercial and came back, that's when I realized, my God, we're almost half an hour into this show, and it's flown by. And then they had the Punk. Go ahead.
I was going to say, and this goes into the next thing, but what I was going to say is, it's really an interesting dynamic right now, because AEW, Tony Khan's from Illinois, and it creates a really cool dynamic you don't get anymore in wrestling, because everything's a national touring company. You get a home field advantage with Punk. You got a local audience cheering a local guy multiple times a year on national TV. We haven't had that in a while. You know, I know it sounds like a silly thing, but we never get that. We never get a hometown flavor on a national wrestling show, and we're getting it all the time now with Punk in Chicago. It's kind of cool.
Monica's office.
And if the WWE guys do happen to visit their hometown, if anybody knows that they're from that town, they generally get bent over and pissed on and mud slung in their face.
Kiss my egg.
Gobbledygook. Anyway, so then Punk had his match. And now, like I said, we're 20 minutes in, we went to the break, we come back, there's Punk in the ring, and he's against QT Marshall with Solo and Comarato. And they had exactly the match they should have. Maybe a little bit long, but they had to go through a break. I understand the formatting.
He must be protecting something
Punk
important.
gets popped on scoop slams. Just because he's smart enough to have built it up to be a thing.
Nice digs. No,
And the
he's really
Stooges
on the
interfered
show.
and they got kicked out of ringside.
Years of undercover work, and a
And
kid
at one
from
point,
Jersey
right before they
City
went
brings
to
me
the
right
break,
to the heart of Aim's
Punk
operation.
gave QT a beautiful shoot off so he could take his upside down bump into the turnbuckle. And QT does that well, he does it better than Michaels because it doesn't look like a guy doing a smooth, controlled flip up and then back to his feet. It looks like Ray Stevens when he got flung into the fucking turnbuckle and went upside down. So QT does that well, but did you notice Punk actually grabbed his arm, pulled him, put some oomph behind it, shoved him on the way by, and fucking went down with his momentum to get the guy to go upside down. Just a little fucking thing. Yeah. Anyway, so then on the other side of the break, QT got some heat, and then Punk finally hit him with a kick, knocked him goofy, made a comeback, hit the elbow drop off the top, called for the go to sleep, hit the go to sleep, and covered him 1, 2, 3. Serious match, good win for Punk, exactly what the finish should have been, no ifs, ands, or buts, there was no jump start, there was no afterbirth.
Now there the door screams evil supervillain.
And it was perfect. And now we're 35 minutes into
Monica's
the show,
alive,
plus,
alright.
and I still haven't fast-forwarded anything. And again, every match does not have to be the main event at Starrcade. And again, the only one maybe who realizes this is CM
Should be able to
Punk.
call up the
He
last
went
log.
out, and he got a win in his hometown and on national television after doing a brilliant promo and looked like a wrestling show. I don't know what else you can ask.
You know, you kind of said my only negative was maybe a little too long. I'm not a QT Marshall fan, so I think the less time you see him on TV, the better, and I think Punk he hasn't had any quick, easy wins, and I guess that's part of the story. It is part of the story. I shouldn't say I guess it's part of the story, but I don't know. Maybe just a tad too long.
But he's getting his wind back. He's improving his cardio all the time, and pretty soon now he's going to start kicking these guys' asses in record time. But I mean, we can't just expect him to go out there and just windmill people and beat them in 30 seconds, Brian. That would be nuts.
It would indeed be nuts.
It would be crazy. But I can't even hear the word nuts anymore, folks, without thinking of our friends at nuts.com. The best kept secret of savvy snackers across America.
All right.
Yeah. Hey, wait a minute. Hold on here. Woohoo. My lips have been lubricated. Folks, nuts.com isn't just for nut lovers. It's a one-stop pantry shop. They've got all the snacks and pantry items available, including candies, dried fruits, baking mixes, pasta, plus the nuts. The nuts! Healthy nuts, delicious nuts, nutritious nuts, all kinds of... But I needed a lawyer like Stephen P. New to get him out of this because he clearly...
You're okay. On Blackstock on Twitter at Alan_cheapshot, a friend of mine, a friend of the show, did a thread entitled Hulk Hogan's Lies Over the Years. Did you see any of this?
I saw the initial tweet, and I didn't follow the thread because I've heard many of the lies, but we can go over them here if you'd like.
All right, well, here are some of them, and Alan does a good job researching these, so I'm sure these are all accurate. The wrestler-director Darren Aronofsky has the lead role 3 times. Hogan called him down because he didn't deserve it. Aronofsky Tartakovsky categorically denies that Hogan was ever considered for the role.
Papa Savage, shit the fucking hell. Can you see the footage where he's working at the deli and he gets mad at the meat slicer and everything? There's a 6'8" fucking 325-pound Hulk Hogan's working there. That wouldn't be distracting from the overall story of the movie. Yeah.
Hulk Hogan was an all-state pitcher in high school, and he was scouted by both the New York Yankees and the Cincinnati Reds, but an injury prevented him from signing with either team.
Oh my God, yeah, the injury was when the fucking scout that was looking at him went blind.
Yeah, by the way, how much did he hate Randy Savage? So much that he made up a story about being scouted by the Cincinnati Reds.
Yes. Who Randy Savage actually was and did play for the minor league affiliate of, etc., etc. And so now I've never even heard that one.
It's a good one. I never heard that one either. Here's another one. Oh, this is an interesting one for you. Hulk Hogan claims he's the one who first noticed Kevin Owens' potential.
What?
Here's a quote. Well, I hate to brag about it, but I'm the first one to point the finger at Kevin Owens. And then Allen wrote, after a decade of solid work on the Indies.
I was about to say, I guarantee you, people were talking about Steen for good and bad before Hulk Hogan had ever heard of him.
Hulk Hogan starred in the movies Mr. Nanny and Santa with Muscles. Hogan claims he rewrote both scripts entirely, only to have his writing credit stolen from him by the Dastardly Writers Guild. I don't know that one either. I never heard that one.
Oh, well, because you have never heard all of Hulk Hogan's lies unless you've heard every word that's ever come out of Hulk Hogan's mouth. Because it's a different one almost every time. So some of these, yes, are new and entertaining.
Hulk Hogan says he used to fight pride fighters in the 70s.
What?
Pride Fighting Championship was founded in 1997.
There was no such thing as pride.
Who the hell are you
No such thing
thinking,
as mixed martial arts.
You should
Hogan
stay
wasn't
put.
fighting anybody in the 70s except the guy that was overcharging him on his guitar string.
Of course.
That was the whole deal about Hogan, is that they
Where are you?
they weren't sure at the beginning because he was just a big guy that played in a band, right? He had the size, but he wasn't.
Dark Georgia. None of your so-called cures ever work, Monica. You're provoking our powers. It's killing her.
Let me see something.
I have been a massive fan of Jericho during his...
What? Oh, he's changing that thing. tell them, I said, if you can afford it, go to Best Buy and get this thing. It's called an e-boost cell signal amplifier. Put it up outside. My friend of mine makes it. Thanks, Dad. I said, well, you put it up outside like a TV antenna. Better to put it up high. You point it towards your nearest cell tower. You run a cable line to the box that goes on the inside of the house. And the box to it. And then that box has an antenna that comes off the it. You set it in the house. And then it broadcasts. No service in most of the house, and only having maybe 1 bar or 2 in certain spots, now having 4 or 5 bars constantly. You got 5 bars now, though. Works good at night. He said, really? I said, yeah. He said, it's too much. I said, yeah. So when I took a picture of it, I wanted to show you. So when I said, even that's the size of our internet, because our internet goes through. They don't have broadband out here. Our internet goes through cell phone signal. And you know, if you go by, put it up, if it doesn't work, you can return it in 15 days. That's you went and bought it that same day, actually. Yeah, I went and bought it, just found on it, had it so bad. Man, you were right. This damn thing looks awesome. So right now, I'm sitting in my room on the bed and talk on the phone and send text messages and stuff. I couldn't do that before. It saved my life. He said you have to keep it in one spot. And whenever it's charging in that one spot, just in case somebody calls or something, you know? So, now you can. He said at first he couldn't figure it out because he didn't know where the towers were. He read on in the instructions how to download that app that points you towards the nearest tower, but he had to go to the end of his driveway and he couldn't have service to download it. And then he turned it on and showed him where the nearest tower was, or showed him the direction. So walked back up to his house and pointed the antenna in that direction and did all the cable find stuff. He asked me on Messenger before he started out working. He said that he could, it wasn't giving him a better signal. I said, yeah, the antenna, the black antenna that hooks up to the box on the inside, and then it can't be like right next to the box. You gotta put it a few feet away because the box interrupts that signal. You gotta put it a few feet away so it can work, and then better to put it up high. Then you got a shelf that you put it on. It about 2 seconds after moving that antenna up to that shelf, you said bars on the phone went from 0 to 4. You looked up from the internet, got on YouTube and stuff, stuff was on the way up. You could never do that without. sorry for him. I put him up on your chair once, but he come back down. And he couldn't, back up there. Well, I came home. He opened that door and started running into my room as usual. Y'all come home, and when Dad comes home, and he's been outside, first thing he do, he opens the door, he runs in my room, makes me pet him. He ran in there and tried to jump up on the bed, and he hit his head on the frame on the metal bar. Once he backed up 2 foot, I said, oh, came moving around over to the front of me. I said, I reached out and petted him, and he ran back in there and got off. Speak of the devil. Right, Cooper, you're the devil. I'll give him a treat. Did you give him one before he went out? Huh? Did you give him a treat before he went out?
No, no.
Okay.
No, not this time. I'm good for.
Oh man, you should have told me you needed Sharpies. I bought some not so long ago.
That's all right. I get to run 15 miles.
Cooper? Yeah.
He can stand on that leg. Come here and look. He's standing on it right now.
Maybe you can't. He doesn't have it all the way down though. Maybe you can't run or walk on it. Yeah, I don't know why either. I don't know what's wrong with it.
Daddy wouldn't let you out. That's gone it. We'll show him.
Maybe it's a bruise or pulled muscle or maybe he got a torn ligament. I don't know. But I put pressure on it last night for damn near an hour, almost every direction and way I could, and he never yelped or cried or nothing. You know? I reset the internet tracker this morning. The bill paid and the service good. Start over at 0. All the F5
Where you at? Where you at? What's going on, Chris? Huh? What you want? Oh, you want? Oh, you okay? I know you want to jump up here, but you can't. What? Wants to jump up on my leg, but he can't. Go cute, look at cute. Look, look at that cute. Go cute, look at that. Come on. What? Teasing you. We was laying back there just good. Here he comes. We'll go here. Come on, Gilbert. Come on. Come on, Gilbert. Come on. Sorry. of meat with extra cheese. The coat of meat with extra cheese. The coat of meat with extra cheese. Bless you.
This is where we are with the Republican Party right now. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy is now defending Colorado Congresswoman Lauren Boebert after this shocking, purely bigoted jab she took at Muslim Congresswoman Ilhan Omar of Minnesota.
Keeps inhumans alive just long enough to copy their powers.
And there she is. Ilhan Omar.
It's just a cover for your twisted experiments. Stealing powers to create adaptoids.
McCarthy standing by Boebert.
I have to find Kamala.
Even as she doubles down on her hateful, bigoted comments. Here with us to exclusively respond is Democratic Congresswoman Ilhan Omar of Minnesota.
Right.
Congresswoman, thanks for being here. So I want to obviously over. What is it like to hear that kind of blatant bigotry, blatant Islamophobia coming from a fellow elected member of the House of Representatives?
It's shocking. It's very
What?
Language against a colleague. Many of us thought, post 9/11, when I faced one, I remember getting a phone call from the world, from head to the feet.
Time to join your friends.
They
can't stop the punches, smug artificial faces. So much more satisfying than I imagined.
It really is damaging, not just but the kind of community we want.
She apologized publicly. She apologized personally. She wanted
decontamination protocols. Great. I need to stop this gas.
What's your reaction?
It's working.
And a coward.
Got the gas under control.
Being trafficked by a member.
Consider this payback for all the mandatory accounting. I'll never found a spy on your sustained by scrapping.
So it condemns out of hundreds, most of the
Not just in the United States are seeing this, and they are moving, as you know. And as many people have reached out to me about my safety, I was about you are afraid.
Kamala would be in the main
has targeted you with these bigoted comments. Any number of examples. She's called you a terrorist, black-hearted, evil. Not a one-off joke to her. This isn't just one errant moment. This is a pattern What do you
They're
think
transferring the
people
Inhumans.
democratically
Hope
should
I'm not
do
too
if
late.
anything?
I think the most dangerous thing that she has recently said is that we have a problem in Congress because there's a terrorist. And I think once you sort of invoke that kind of language, you put not just my life, but the lives of my colleagues as well in danger because we don't know who's out there. You know, the people who are leaving these voicemails that are saying we are taking up arms and coming to the Capitol to protect our community from the terrorists are not. And for us to say cannot by the House send a clear and decisive message to the
Time for a prisoner.
I wasn't going to be allowed to be sworn in because there was a job. She promised me that she'd take care of it. She fulfilled that promise. She's made another promise to me that she will take care of this, and I believe her.
Just note, as you just did, this isn't just about hurt feelings, not that that is a small thing. This is about incitement, and you recently shared a voicemail message that you got, and with your permission, I'd like to play that because it's important that people understand why you are so concerned. Let's roll that tape.
I'm here. We know what you are. You're a leader. You will not live much longer. I can almost guarantee you that.
I mean, that is chilling and upsetting.
They must have moved most of them.
How many threats like that have you
Be here,
received?
Kamala, please.
Do you genuinely feel because of the hate campaign from Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, and others?
Well, you all left. Fine. I could do this all day.
And there's a gentleman here that I have at large, constantly hear from there are children that off. My own daughters have experienced this. I have experienced this as a young person in this country. And we know what this kind of language that this member is using leads to. And we know that the kind of man who leaves that voicemail young we have a responsibility as leaders. Words matter, and words can cause violence. And she knows that the language that she's using, the audience that she's using it for, is going to incite violence against myself and my community.
Well, I can't believe that we're here in 2021 in the United States of America. I can't think of anything less American than this bigotry campaign of Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene and others, and complicity of the leaders of the Republican Party who have not said a word. And I have nothing but sympathy and empathy for you, and we're here to bring attention to this as much as possible.
I appreciate that. It is shameful that they can't even get themselves to say, I condone this language and this behavior, and that we will condemn this language and this behavior, and that we will do better.
It is vile and it is un-American. Congressman, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
On your story today.
What? I don't know. Give me a second. Huh? He's outside.